Hey guys, Brooks here. I've been getting a ton of comments asking for a Starlordaim guide, and with my amazing experiences being over 150 hours on the hero and hitting Diamond 2 just a week after release, I've got you covered. Here are my best tips to aim like a pro on Starlord so that you can make better plays, you can secure more kills, and you can start climbing the ranks. My crosshair code, sensitivity, and my own Starlord settings will be in the pinned comment below. Plus, you can follow my Twitch for raw gameplay, proven consistency, and live Q&A sessions. Let's get to it. First thing I'd like to talk about is crosshair placement. You may have heard about this in the past, but if not, I'll be the first to tell you. You'll be recognized as a bot if you're mopping the floor with your crosshair, so get in the habit of always aiming head level, even if no one is there. This is important and why you see everyone who aims well and not looking down or moping around, because they're always ready to take someone on. And the second part about crosshair placement is regarding where you hold your crosshair in anticipation of an enemy's movement. If you think about how the enemy moves, you can see a drastic difference in your aim predicting it right. That's the psychological part of aiming better, but more on that later. The pros know it takes far too much energy to move your mouse and track every little thing at every given moment, so there are tricks like crosshair placement to relieve your mind of such stress. Giving yourself an easier way to get your crosshair on the target is the smartest way to go about aiming as a concept. No one will pride you on wasting energy on movements when there are ways to more efficiently aim and get the same exact result. This is part of the reason how people can aim so well for so many hours of the day on stream. How to get better tracking? You just press Q. Okay, jokes aside, let's talk about tracking. Starlord is primarily a tracking hero, meaning you rarely need to flick except during target switching, like during your ultimate. The key to mastering tracking lies in predicting enemy movement. By putting yourself in their shoes, you can anticipate their next move and gain the upper hand. For example, if an opponent is trying to escape, they'll likely head for the nearest cover. Recognizing this lets you preemptively position your crosshair and land every shot, securing a KO that could single-handedly win you the fight. Similarly, predictable patterns like jumping are easy to punish. Jumping follows a consistent arc, making it straightforward to track and hit. That's why you often see jumping enemies go down quickly, because they give up on their unpredictability. When it comes to improving tracking, it's all about real-time adjustments. You're constantly updating your mouse movement to stay locked onto the target. This takes practice, but over time, your reaction speed improves, your movement predictions become sharper, and your overall aim becomes more precise. Experience is the ultimate key to better aim, but understanding and applying these concepts will give you a huge advantage as you climb the learning curve. Warming up is another concept that is sometimes debated on its value and if it's just a placebo or not. In my experience as someone who in the past would only play aim heroes in games like Overwatch, I've tried not warming up before ranked matches, and I've noticed I'd lost significantly more matches than usual, even if before I'd just be on slight autopilot warming up. My understanding is that I need to warm up my brain and get that mind-muscle connection started before I enter a ranked match with real stressors and harder to hit opponents. It may be less about hitting targets so well in warm-up and more about the mental aspect of mind-muscle connection. This is a concept I take to Marvel Rivals as well. Now, let's get on to Starlord's settings. I've been using default settings except for the ult sensitivity. I'm now using 70% instead of 100% because at times 100% can latch on the aimbot onto the wrong target from a distance, costing you a KO. For crosshair, I have a code posted in the pinned comment, and you typically want to lean toward a crosshair that's not too big and not overly small. After outliers are assumed to be gone, it is personal preference, and I suggest you stick to one so it doesn't mentally affect you. Many have asked for my crosshair, and there's nothing wrong with using another person's if it feels nice to you. Onto sensitivity, this is a slightly more versatile subject where you can experiment with on average higher or lower, assuming you aren't in an outlier. Quickly, if you don't know, when sensitivity is asked of people, they're asking for their mouse's DPI setting and the in-game sensitivity. So I would say I use 1200 DPI and 0.94 sensitivity. You need to download your mouse's software to get a more exact DPI number set in, but they're typically around 800, 1600, or 3200. eDPI is the DPI times sensitivity, and it's the universal number among the gaming community if you don't want to start talking in numbers per centimeter on your mousepad. I want you to multiply your DPI times your sensitivity to make sure you understand your eDPI. I consider an eDPI in Marvel Rivals to be an outlier where it negatively impacts your experience when it's 1000 or below and 2000 or above. My eDPI sits at 1128, so it's on the lower end, but that's intentional. The rule of thumb is that the lower your sense, the more you lean toward precision, and the higher your sense, the more you lean toward speed. This goes the same with mouse pads being rougher being slower and softer being faster for a mouse, which enables you to take this to a more advanced degree, but more on that later. You should find a sensitivity you're comfortable with and stick to it. I've been using my own sensitivity untouched for years now and built a solid connection with it. It is literally a 1-to-1 with the left to right side of my mousepad, being a full 360 in game for reference. Too slow will limit your movements far too much, and too fast will ruin precision too much. So find something you're comfortable with between the EDPI range of 1000 to 2000. Video settings should be quick to cover because all you really need to understand is that when you're shooting for precision and all that you do, you will lean toward higher FPS and higher monitor refresh rate. You are not KOing anything with a choppy 30 FPS PC, so to optimize you must lower video settings to the lowest settings and make sure you're on the highest refresh rate for your monitor in the Windows settings. I personally use the lowest in-game settings without any external configuration because 1, I don't need any more optimization, and 2, I can't tolerate how ugly no shadows looks in the configs I've been seeing around. I use a 360Hz monitor, enabling ultra smooth motions in a high FPS environment. In essence, the smoother your PC in game, the smoother your aim will be, allowing you to push your limits even higher. Let's talk about aim trainers. I often get asked if I use them, and the answer is no, but hear me out. I consider every game I play in Marvel Rivals as aim training. By being intentional and focusing on improving with every magazine, you're essentially aim training in real time. It's all about having the right mindset and actually trying. Now, I've tried aim trainers like Aim Labs and Kovacs briefly, and they can be helpful, especially if you're serious about addressing specific weaknesses. If you're just starting out with aiming, something like Kovacs might give you a solid foundation. But for most players, the best aim trainer is the game itself. As long as you're mindful, always looking to improve, and have a solid understanding of the tips mentioned across this video, you're on your way to amazing and consistent aim. When it comes to choosing a mouse, the key is to how it feels in your hand, not the specs like DPI or sensor names. After trying multiple mice myself and seeing friends obsess over peripherals, the ultimate tip is to find a mouse that feels comfortable and stick to it. Constantly switching can mess with your mindset, making you think that your gear is the problem. I use the wired Razer Death Adder V3 because it has the perfect shape for my larger hands and the coating feels much better than the wireless version. Whatever your grip style, palm, fingertip, claw, or something in between, go with something that feels natural as you play. I also noticed that incorporating more of a firmer grip with my pinky and my thumb briefly improved my aim. However, I believe this was less about the grip itself and more about breaking the autopilot tendencies and truly locking in a moment. Aim is ultimately a mental skill more than anything else. Now, you don't need to worry about specific grip nuances until you're more experienced. I personally stick to palm grip, which tends to work better on larger mice. Weight also plays a role. Avoid ultra heavy mice over like 100 grams, but super light options are usually not an issue. Focus on comfort, consistency, and staying mentally engaged to improve your gameplay. Okay, let's talk mouse pads because they're just as important as your mouse. Before jumping to buy a streamer's recommendation or a product marketed directly at you, take a moment to evaluate what you already have. Is your pad slow, or is it balanced, or is it fast? Understanding this one thing can help you decide whether you need a change or not. And I've tried it all. At the time, it was the fastest pad on the market. I tried fast pads like SkyPad 3.0, the Glass Pad, which glides effortlessly, and slow pads like the slowest one I could find on the market, called the Quayar Neutron Premium Cloth Pad, which felt super heavy and had super high static friction. Through that, I've learned that I prefer a balanced pad, but leaning more controlled. And that's why I use the SY001 cloth pad from Wallhack, otherwise formerly known as SkyPad. Yes, they made a cloth pad, and that's another reason why I love it. Yes, I'm partnered with them. You can use code Brooks with 2 S's for 10% off from the description below, but I've only partnered with them because I genuinely love their products. This pad suits my playstyle perfectly, and with all my prior experience with pads and aiming on them, I think this is my best one yet. So before you switch to something new, you gotta figure out what works for your aim and your grip style because it makes all the difference. All in all, knowing your mousepad speed, whether it's slow, fast, or balanced, can help you decide if you want to actually experiment with something new or stick with what you have now. Pair this with options like adjusting your mouse's weight, shape, or even your own sensitivity in game, and you'll see how much control you have over your aiming experience. It's all about tailoring it to your preferences because ultimately, at the end of the day, the tools are just supplements to your skills. A true professional can aim with even the worst of gear, so remember, amazing aim comes down to your mindset, your click timing, and your ability to predict enemy movement. These factors matter far more than any specific setup. I hope these tips can help you climb the rank ladder, and if you found this useful, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.